Are you a business looking for a fresh new way to reach potential customers? Well, you need to get airtime on IT TV, a 24/7 streaming and on-demand TV service online and on Roku. With Roku having a potential reach of 62 million people, it's a perfect opportunity to reach potential customers through affordable commercial and infomercial spots. Visit us online today at itnetwork.tv.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and I have an incredible show for you today. We're going to meet some new friends, learn about some new business. We're going to learn, we're going to laugh, we're going to be educated. But as I always say, go ahead and share this show because your friends do not want to miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. And friends, don't let friends miss out on the Roundtable Talk Show. So if your friends don't meet these guests and don't learn today, who do we blame? And while you're sharing the show, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our very first guest, Mr. Richard Kaufman. Richard has personally come back from homelessness, drug addiction, alcoholism, PTSD, TBI, and blindness. Now, Richard is a top-rated podcaster, author of a #1 Amazon bestseller. Good morning, Mr. Kaufman. How are you?
I'm truly blessed. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So let us know who you are, what you do, and what you're passionate about.
Well, like you said, I've come back from everything. If you guys see me, I can't see you because I'm 80% blind, but I don't let that stop me. My passion is helping people come back, whether in life or in business, because, COVID-19, a lot of people had struggled in business. So I help them come back, whether they're struggling in life, with addiction, anything health, fitness related, or business. I help them come back if they're having any problems with their businesses. Because now on my podcast, I interview 7, 8, 9-figure earners, and I'm constantly learning from them. And I'm always giving what I'm taught. I'm teaching others.
Wow, that is wonderful. We're definitely going to have to dig in and find out more about you. But I want to go ahead and introduce our next guest, Mr. Tanner Leatherstein. Tanner helps people understand and use leather better to elevate their lives and styles. Tanner, tell us who you are, what you do, and what you're passionate about.
Hi, thanks for having me here as well. Tanner, I'm a born leather craftsman. I was assigned this task by the universe by being come into a family that is in tannery business and having a father who had me involved in the business early on, and it started as a game for me, then it turned to a passion. And later on, I started to realize the lack of information in general public about leather, and actually the eagerness and willingness to use leather, but that lack of information kind of causing a disconnection between the potential they can get from leather and they actually the actual experience they get from it. So with PEGAI and some other initiatives called Tanner's Club, I'm very passionate about helping people understand leather, how to assess good leather from bad leather, and use it to its best potential to elevate their lives and styles using that beautiful natural material.
Wow, impressive. I have so many questions that I just almost want to ask, but I'm going to come back to you because I want to go ahead. We're going to introduce our next guest, Mr. Murray Wadsworth. Murray Wadsworth is the author of Prostate Cancer, Sheep or Wolf, Navigating Systematic Misinformation. His cancer diagnosis led him on a fully validated and medically reviewed journey to break down the myths and facts about the disease, exposing just how far behind prostate cancer diagnosis and treatment is in America. Good morning, Murray. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifah. I'm just fine. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what are you passionate about?
You often speak of journeys and passions. Mine changed dramatically 7 years ago. I was living and working just outside of London, England. I had a business there. Passionate about the business and traveling Europe when I was diagnosed. and the diagnosis was not favorable. So I began looking into the diagnostic methods available in the US and Europe, went back and forth several times. And that led to the writing of the book and also embarking in my RV. This is my 6th year out full time in the RV. And I have been an advocate now for men's health, working in coffee shops, small libraries as I travel from Texas to Montana and back. And last year, of course, with the changes for all of us, I lost all the momentum in trying to get the message out to men and women in their lives. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We definitely have some questions for you as well. I want to go ahead and introduce my very next guest. Just me and her, the ladies on the show, Miss Kristi Preston. Kristi helps people, families, and kiddos create positive thoughts one day at a time. Good morning, Kristi. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you guys?
Excited.
Good. So a little bit about what I have created is I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's lots of negativity out there these days. And I wanted to try and bring some more positivity into the world. So I started with an individual journal, and they all have a challenge in them. So the first one was for individuals, just to write down one positive thought for 30 days. Super simple, nothing, don't dwell on it, just first thing that comes to mind. And then I realized that kiddos would benefit from it. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old boys. And so I sit down with them at night and I ask them what made them happy in their day. And they spill their whole day to me, which is so fun. And then for families that have kind of disconnected with cell phones and social media and everyone's just on their phone all the time, I created a family journal where families can sit down and either once a week or every day just talk about one positive thing in everyone's day so that we can all kind of reconnect and try and think about more positive things.
I think that is beautiful. And I have so many questions for you, Kristi, but I want to make sure I introduce our next guest, Mr. David Sawyer. We're going to bring David in so he can talk to us, the gentleman, about himself. David Sawyer, Safer Places, Inc. David is the founder and president of Safer Places, a Massachusetts-based company providing pre-employment background screening services nationwide. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good morning, Sharifah. I am well. How are you today?
I'm excited. I want to learn all about everyone.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, by the way. So Safer Places, as you mentioned, is based in Massachusetts. I live up in Maine, so I'm down in Massachusetts occasionally at the office. But to be honest, I kind of hide out up here in Maine as much as I can, working out of a home office, because when I look out my window, I see a beautiful lake and mountains in the background. It's a beautiful place to live. Getting a little chilly this time of year, but it gets me away from traffic and crowds and all that. So it's a great place, and I can do what I do from anywhere. I'm very passionate about educating people about background checks. There's so much misinformation out there about what goes into a background check, why we do them, how we go about them, what can and cannot be included in them, and how they can be used effectively. So very passionate about that. And I guess, creating safer places, that's what we do.
That is wonderful. It's just, I always see a common theme. Kristi wants people to be more positive. Dave wants people to be safe. Richard wants people to go through all their trials and tribulations and still keep going. Murray over here is helping people, and Tanner is keeping with the family business. I have a list of questions, so I'm going to jump right in there, since I get to ask all the questions, nobody else. But Tanner, I don't know if people ask you this, but is Leatherstein your real last name?
No, absolutely not. Yeah, people ask me that, and the answer is no. It's the personal brand. I would like to introduce myself into this field. This is a brand I came up with 10 years ago, and in the past year, I started implementing it as I go more public and share my knowledge, my passion with the world. So it is a personal brand. And in a way, if I were to choose my own name with the knowings that I have today, probably that would be my real name.
Yes, but it also goes back to, because you mentioned your father and you mentioned generations, and this is a family business, correct?
Well, yes, there was a little breakup in between, but yes, my father started a tannery, and he has done that until I was about like 17, 18 years old in Turkey. And we stopped that business at the moment I moved here because my father went through a bunch of health issues, some surgery, some recovery periods. And after I moved here, upon his recovery, he was retired for a while. I done a bunch of things to set up my life in the United States. As a cab driver for a long time, I was a pool cleaning guy at a hotel. Then I got my MBA, got into business consulting. I tried corporate world for a year, didn't like it, and I went back to leather. And PEGAI started at that point 5 years ago. So there was a little bit of like a 10-year break. But now as a family, we're back in leather business, and it is still all family together.
Wow, that's wonderful. How is it having a family business, Kristi?
It's great. I mean, my little son thinks it's amazing. He does little commercials for me, and it's just so fun to be able to spend time with them and kind of teach my kids something as well. I've always been kind of self-employed, and so my main gig is real estate, but my kids get to see me and my husband work all the time, and I think it's a good thing to teach your kids.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. Richard, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so blessed. I'm just having fun today, and I'm so grateful to be able to hang out with you guys. I'm grateful to be anywhere because I never expected to live past the age of 25. So I'm just grateful to be alive today and have some fun while we're hanging out here.
So you're 26 now?
Yeah, my right leg is 26.
That's interesting. That's funny. Dave, did you expect to be doing what you're doing now?
Well, I don't know. I've been in some form of security all my life, since I was, just in college and even in high school. I thought I was going to be a police officer, and I started out in private security, and I never really did make the transition over to being a police officer, but I have nevertheless dedicated really my whole life to just helping people make safer places, and so that was a natural name for the company when the time came.
What don't we know about background checks? What will change our view if we knew like this information?
Well, it's amazing to me the number of times a new client will come to us and say, okay, we want to do a background check, and we start the conversation about why they want to do it and what they want to get out of it. And they'll say, well, just give me the standard background check. And the thing is that there is no standard background check. There's no, cloud computer somewhere that we can go to that just will tell us everything about somebody. And, I think sometimes people think that we just, it's like TV. You go in and you punch in some data and out pops, this guy had a parking ticket last week and he's got 3 overdue library books. It just, it doesn't work that way. You have to go in and search for specific things. And so we like to work with a client and get them knowledgeable about what goes into a background check, and then help them choose screening packages that make sense for the positions that they're hiring for.
That definitely makes sense because, I am the CSI guru, the LA law, all of that. And one of the things that I notice is that people will say a criminal will be caught, and then they'll say, oh, well, why didn't they know that? Why didn't the company know that information? Then it's like, okay, they weren't looking for that. They were looking for a specific, criminal background. And so other things may fall through the loop. Would you say?
Yeah. So, for example, in Massachusetts, where my company's headquartered, if you want to do a statewide search for criminal records, it's called the CORI system that we use. It's CORI, stands for Criminal Offender Record Information. And so in Massachusetts, the legislature has passed laws that say, well, if you have a certain position, like you're working in a daycare or you're a security guard, that the company is responsible for doing a CORI check. And what they don't realize is, and even the legislature doesn't require it, is that the person could have a criminal record in Connecticut or in, California. The Corey system only checks Massachusetts. So that's just a little example of, if you don't know what you should be searching for, and you just go along and say, well, the law says I got to do this Massachusetts Corey search, then maybe you're hiring someone to work in your daycare that has a horrible record and has no business being in a daycare center working with children. But you don't know that because the record was in New Jersey and you were checking Massachusetts only.
Absolutely. I definitely understand. And I think Murray can tell us about some information that if people don't know, it can hurt us. You're passionate about helping people with prostate cancer.
Yes, ma'am.
But you said it was something that we didn't know. What is it that we need to know? And why are you so passionate about everything being, I don't want to put this in your mouth, but antiquated, I guess, old?
Easy and happy to talk about it. The foreword to the book is titled, "Is Prostate Cancer the New Breast Cancer?" And this is written by a friend of mine, a breast cancer surgeon in England. And if we think back to a few decades ago, breast cancer diagnosis and treatment was in a dark phase of the medical community. Double mastectomies were very common, and now we know not necessary. Prostate cancer has been viewed as an old man's disease. It is a difficult disease to treat historically, and there were many side effects. But the reality is the death rate from this disease is not much different than than breast cancer. And nearly 500,000 American men are on hormone blocking drugs. And most of us are in our 50s and 60s to early 70s. So this disease is largely ignored. Men tend not to get screened. There's no national screening guidelines as we have with breast cancer. And as I found, having been fortunate to be living over in Europe, they're advanced as it comes to diagnostics and treatments of this disease. I had imaging for this disease. It's not yet available in the US, and this was 6 years ago. I also had a surgery over in Belgium that you cannot get in this country. It put me into a very favorable and wonderful and positive position. So men, I try to encourage men to screen, and I help them understand all the misinformation as to why we're not screening. It's a simple blood test, and it's not anything to be concerned with.
Wow. But I think sometimes you just have to have the will to live. You have to have the will to go on. How do you find that, Richard? How do you just keep going when everything that was supposed to stop you,
It was either that or die, and I'm either too I'm too stupid to die, so I just don't quit. And I always
saying that. Don't say that.
I did 23 years in the military, so that's one thing they taught us is never quit. So it's something I tell everybody is you can either be a victor or you could be a victim. It's your choice, and I make the choice to be a victor.
So where did that come from? I mean, where did that come from? Do you think it was a particular book, a particular person? But what instilled that idea in you?
It all happened. My whole life and trajectory changed on the morning of 9/11. So after that happened, my whole life changed because that's when I decided I wanted to start living to help other people instead of living for myself, and it gave me purpose.
Were you somehow involved in it, or was it just a life-changing day for you?
Well, where I'm sitting right now, if I go on my front porch, I'm overlooking where the Twin Towers once stood. And we had friends that were in the towers that day. So
wow.
It was a big change for me. And that's why, today I decide the three most important words in the English language are today I decide, because you don't have to be the same person when you go to bed tonight as the same person that woke up this morning. You can make a decision to change.
Wow, I think that's beautiful. For me, 9/11 affected my life in that it was the first time out of 8 times where I was laid off. I was laid off September 12th, 2001, and my life has never been the same. And that's what took me on this entrepreneurial journey. So I definitely understand. Kristi, do you have those moments when your life just changed?
Oh man, I can't think of anything specific that would have put me where I am. I've just always been a kind of self-motivated person, and gone through lots of different entrepreneurial journeys.
It doesn't have to be tragedy, but from what stands out to me from your aura, your energy, is I feel like maybe it was having kids. You know, I'm looking at the positive vibes, and you keep talking about your 3-year-old and your 5-year-old and these kids, and your face just light up. So maybe
Right.
that being a mom was a defining moment for you.
100%. I love my kids, and I love being able to teach them and try and not screw them up as much as I possibly can, because we all screw our kids up in some way. But just trying to be the best example and teach them to be good human beings would be the best accomplishment that I think I could have.
That's wonderful. Anybody else have a life-changing moment that their life was never the same?
I had one recently in actually this year, January. And this was not a tragedy, as you just give an example of. You know, I had those as well, but this was an interesting one. The first time, I just suddenly started sensing a feeling of clarity on my life's purpose, and this was during a trip in Hawaii. I don't know if it was the geography. I don't know if it was the environment, or taking a break from the work with my right now 2 years old. He was little over 1 at the time, and we were expecting our second son. So I don't know what was it about it, but literally like the next day I wake up, I answered all the questions that was like so ready to be answered for the past 5 years, what I'm trying to do with my life, my business, my initiatives. And the next day I just knew, like, this is my work, this is my task in the universe, and everything started becoming so easy to answer and decide which way to go every day from then on, since that January. So I had one of those moments, but I cannot explain why or how that happened. So
I think that's beautiful. But I think let's take a look at your driving purpose.
yeah, so
I love it. We're going to have to play it again. Tell us about what we just saw. That's your driving purpose.
Thank you.
Real leather is here.
So yeah, the real leather is here is our motto these days, because there was a lot of fake stuff or very heavily made up, covered up, that natural beauty stuff out there. And even bigger brands, you would expect you're paying a lot of money and there's a lot of marketing around that. You must be getting a good leather. And unfortunately, it's not, because of the standardization processes and mass manufacturing. They have to give up the natural beauty and authentic grain of the leather, and they just still tell the people this is the greatest leather they can buy, and they price it high to create that illusion, marketing, packaging, and all that stuff. And all I want to do is just putting all those dots together in my life. As I was growing up, my friends knew my involvement with leather, and whenever they grab a leather craft, leather jacket, shoes, they come to me, hey, is this real? Is this real leather? Did I pay too much? Is it fake? And again, since January, I'm like, okay, this has to mean something. This kept happening for the entire life. And now it means to me, people don't know enough about to make that decision by themselves. And at that point, they try to go listen to the brands, and whoever is shinier and better in marketing, they believe to them. But unnecessarily, that is the truth, because now bigger brands take advantage of this lack of knowledge, and they still make it easy on themselves to with the standardization process of leather. And I want to tell them how leather is a touch and feel thing, how you don't need to know anything. You just touch it, you feel it for yourself, you smell it. And I make videos, entertaining, applicable content to help people get more comfortable with understanding, assessing a leather's quality and its authenticness, so they can never waste another dollar on subpar leather crafts again, and enjoy this beautiful natural craft for its utmost potential.
Wow. Did anyone else just see how Tanner just lit up when he started talking about the leather?
That's
Just me.
passion.
Just me. Was I the only one who saw Tanner's passion? Am I alone? Can somebody give me an amen or something?
I love it. I love it. I got
Amen.
to ask Miss Tanner. Now we know that a lot of companies are dealing with supply chain issues. The company that made my hats actually had to go out of business because they couldn't get a lot of leather. Have you run into any of that kind of problem, and how have you pivoted in your business the last year?
I have run into a few problems, but most I was able to handle them because I'm very vertically integrated. I design my recipes down in the tannery. I start making my leather with my tannery partners. So I don't go buy or order leather from somewhere. I actually go make it in the tannery myself. So pretty much all my supply chain, my main materials are within the system under my own control. But moving them through the process got harder and much more expensive. As of today, we're dealing with a container being delayed and getting to us a little later than expected. But thankfully, since I have the control over this integrated supply chain, just to have the very exact leather I want to present to my customers, it made me lucky in this process that I don't need to rely on other people's promises on this delivery dates these days. So I'm on the luckier bunch here.
Absolutely. You taking notes, Murray?
Yes.
What's in your notes?
Interesting. Good. Very, very intuitive on your part. I wrote down the diagnosis comes late. I was trying to think of, how on such a subject did I deal with cancer? And nobody wants to deal with cancer. We'd all rather shop for leather products. And I have a beautiful leather briefcase that I've been looking at. The diagnosis of this disease comes late for most men, and it doesn't need to. It just doesn't need to. And I loved Richard's mantra, "Today I decide." I may see if I can adopt that and use it, that men need to decide to start screening. The screening for this disease needs to be as common as the screening is for breast cancer. The women in our lives screen for a variety of things. Why can't men screen for this disease? It's going to be years before the U.S. adopts it as a standard protocol in the medical community. And there's reasons for that. But that's what I wrote down. The diagnosis comes late. I'd rather go shopping for leather products than go to the doctor and have my blood drawn and see what the result is.
That was a good answer, Murray. I was really just seeing if you was going to answer me because I didn't know what you was doing over there.
And I'm very interested in behavioral science as a personal hobby to learn. Murray, what can be done to facilitate that change in people's mind and behavior? Because I know it's the hardest thing you can do, changing people and behavior. What are you working on these days to create that understanding, the change of behavior in men? It's very difficult. I admire what you're trying, and what are the most recent things you're working on that end?
Tanner, thank you. It has been quiet last year and this year, prior to what we all experienced at the beginning of last year. As I traveled around in my RV, I was in libraries, coffee shops, cancer support groups, and other places talking to men and to women, and at campgrounds and at campsites, working in one-on-one to some fairly large-sized groups. And then all of that got shut down, of course. And so I turned to Facebook and began working with a PR firm to try and get some coverage. This is about prostate cancer, but the book is also a business. And right now, this is a business that loses money. I'm not going to be a bestseller. I'm not going to have movie rights, and I don't think there's going to be action figures for this subject. But it affects every single man, and it affects every single woman. Because once you get this disease, and again, you generally get it diagnosed late, life becomes very, very complicated for the man, and then those around him. So I work one-to-one, and now I'm trying to get back into the broader community, and this opportunity to be on this show, Sharifah and you all, is wonderful, as we're slowly getting back to an open lifestyle.
Yes, I hear you, but I have to say, Murray, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So when you say I'm not, who knows? I mean, maybe there's an incredible movie out there about a man who suffers or goes through this experience and how it affects his family. And this is what happens. Everything comes down to marketing. That's my philosophy. And as Kristi would say, you got to have positive vibes, right, Kristi?
Exactly. Gotta search for the positive in your day and not be negative.
So how do you keep going when you see so? Because I think we focus on the negativity. I think that's one of the
100%.
Yeah. So how do we change that thought process? How do we change?
So that's one of the whole things about the individual journal. So if you just sit down and try and think of one positive thing a day and you write it down, what starts happening is every day you start looking through your day with these like positivity goggles on, and you're like, what am I going to write down in my journal today that's my one positive thought? And I've noticed that I just start looking at everything in my day in a better light. You can't be negative if you're thinking about positive things. It's just your brain can't do both.
Mm-hmm. What was in your positive journal this morning?
I haven't written mine this morning. Yesterday was obviously all about spending time with my kiddos and Halloween and the fun of that, the light in my kids' eyes for dressing up and all the fun stuff.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Sometimes it's like body positivity as well, because a lot of people struggle with that. So if I have a day where I'm like, man, someone gave me a compliment at the gym and it was a stranger and they were like, you look really fit. To me, that it brightens my day, and it's something that I wrote down in my journal.
That is beautiful. You look really fit. But I thought that today's positive journal was talking about the Roundtable Talk Show and how you met.
Oh, that's tonight. That's tonight. When I sit down tonight, that's what's going to be in there.
Okay, I was a little early. I read it a little early. I shouldn't be sneaking in people's journals.
Good recovery, Kristi.
Right.
How you doing down there, Dave?
I'm doing very well. I was thinking when Kristi was talking about her kids, I was very blessed to be able to spend some time this past weekend with my 4 grandkids. So the kiddo part goes by so fast, Kristi. So yeah, enjoy it while you can.
I hear that.
I have a question, Dave.
Grandparenting is an even better job because you get to have fun with them. And we went down to Massachusetts and stayed in a hotel. And we picked one with a pool so we could take them swimming, and we had a blast.
That's awesome.
And then we give them back to the parents, and then they have to put them to bed.
Yeah, give them lots of sugar and then give them back.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I got a question for you, Dave. If you're doing a background check and you find out somebody's got a felony warrant, are you supposed to call the cops, or you just let it go?
That has not happened. I started this business in 2004, and that's a great question. I don't think I have any legal responsibility to notify the police if I find there's a warrant out there. Most of the screenings that we do, believe it or not, we're not searching for warrants. We can, and that we offer that service, but the few clients that do that, we've not had one come up. Most of the time we're looking at history. So we're looking at, a conviction that happened, last month or a couple years ago.
Okay.
So I guess that would probably come down to a moral question, if and when it happens. Should I notify the police if there's an active warrant? I mean, it's not really what we're contracted to do. We would certainly notify our client of that. Would I call the police and let them know? I guess probably.
Okay.
Yeah, tough one to answer, I guess. I wish it had happened, then I'd have the answer for you because I would have already made the decision.
That was an excellent question. How do we know that, that's just part of the process, that you don't tell people about what happens behind the scenes in background checks, Dave?
Well, we want people to know what happens behind the scenes, and that's part of the education. And so we try to be very upfront with clients and say, look, I don't ever want a client coming to me after we do a background check and after they've hired somebody and they've been on the job for 6 months, and then they do something horrible potentially, and then it's determined that, hey, there was a record that was missed. It's one thing if we screw up and we make a mistake, but to me, what would really be tragic is if that was readily available, but the client didn't want us to check certain area. I'll give you an example. So most of our clients, we do statewide or county level court searches for criminal records, and there are databases that we can search. And probably the most neglected area is the federal court system. And we explain this to clients that the federal courts keep their own records. So when we do, an example that you'd probably all be able to relate to was the Boston Marathon bomber a few years ago. Now that was a crime that was committed in Boston, and there's the two brothers that were involved in that. The one surviving brother, he was tried in Boston, in court in Boston, but it was a federal court. The feds took over that case. So when we do a statewide search for criminal records, we would never see that conviction. Of course, he's in jail for the rest of his life, but we would never see that conviction if we didn't also search the federal courts. And a lot of our clients just choose not to do that. It does cost a little extra to do it. And they say, well, the odds are that, we'll find any records that might be out there in state court. But the reality is that, you could miss one if you're not also searching the federal courts.
Wow. That's interesting. I saw you over there writing, Tanner. What's going on over there in Tanner's world? I'm watching.
Yeah, I was taking some notes as well for Murray, actually. A couple questions to him. For his comments, he said Murray, you say you're trying to do some one-on-ones and the revenue model of their business, you said it's kind of losing money at this point. So what we're trying to do with Tanner's Club, our blog informative initiative of the business, just as a service, as a resource to everybody, we produce videos, contents to educate them about leather and how they can become leather savvy. But we realize when we make this in an informative class format, it becomes boring. It's very exciting to me, but it doesn't mean people enjoy it as much as I do. So what we decided to move towards is pick very specific lifestyles, hobbies, and contexts, so we can fit this information in people's very targeted contexts, which subjects they're highly interested. Let's say a good example would be an outdoor lifestyle, a person who likes going camping and hiking. And if we have a leather application in this lifestyle, and we can fit some leather tanning information into this, that will help them buy better products to navigate their lifestyle a little better using leather, and using that leather knowledge, they receive it better. They tend to listen, they enjoy it, and they remember it. So can that be applied to you in terms of increasing your reach? One-on-one is very limited with your time and your physical presence. Can you, maybe yourself or in collaboration with other people like yourself, to put this information into context that people will care to listen what you are trying to say to them, which is very important, like life and that matter. Are there anything doable in your space from this perspective?
Good question. Thanks for a couple of ideas. I'm learning what to do. When I published back in early 2019, things moved quite quickly, and the book did well for a while. And I give a lot of the books away. My message is more helping men than trying to make a huge profit. It would be nice to get closer to break even, and I've not been conservative in my budget. I was told, very interestingly, in several books that I read, to stay away from Facebook. And Facebook has been my best forum for meeting men, meeting women, selling books, giving books away, sharing information in Facebook groups, contrary to what all the advice was. I am beginning to look into doing videos or podcasts. I fight the difficulty of the subject. I can be very positive about it. I can be very positive about the outcomes. My original diagnosis were not good. things are most favorable for me today. And it is interesting to me that you have someone, a company who wants to do a background check, and David said, well, they don't want to check everything. They don't want to spend the money. The same can be tied into this disease in screening. How well do we screen for it? And one of the things I just thought of from what you were suggesting, Tanner, and I do want to ask, is Tanner your real first name, or did you add that into
Nope,
your marketing mix as well?
That's the complete personal brand.
Okay,
all
excellent.
made up.
That's very good. I like it.
Oh, no, we're going to have to go over to Dave. Dave, we need you to check out Tanner Leatherstein, okay?
There's something a little suspicious going on here, yeah.
Okay.
I have
Mr. Go ahead, Richard.
All right. Now, I was with General Nutrition Center for over 33 years. And when I first started, I was 18. Now I'm 53. And when I hit my 20s, I started using natural products like pumpkin seed oil, saw palmetto, turmeric for anti-inflammatories, antioxidants. What are some things that we can do to help prevent prostate cancer? What are some of the things that we can actually do to try to start getting ahead of it before it starts happening?
The one thing we can do is screen for it. Kristen's message is always about positivity, and it can be difficult in this subject area. There is not any scientific evidence that we can prevent this disease. And it is common knowledge around the world, well established, that if a man lives long enough, he'll have this disease. So you have to take that in its context. Then we always understand that there's cancer cells in our bodies and what our body's trying to do. So general great health, I'm a huge fan of fitness. The harder I work out, and I'm quite fit for a nearly 65-year-old man, my health gets better, strikingly better. I am making changes to my diet now, and I am working on a metabolic approach, but that approach is blood-based driven. So I'm working with a doctor. We're doing 34 different blood tests, looking at different things, and then measuring the outcome. So I'm not so much an advocate of, I call it juju juice to go drink, and you'll find these products out there. But if I can tie it to blood level, so for a singular example, my iron was very, very high, at the high end of the normal range. So it was in the standard range that you get on the blood test result, but it was at the high end. Further research shows that very high iron levels are directly tied to metastatic prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So I immediately took steps to bring my iron levels down. They weren't unsafe. A normal GP would have said, oh, you're great, you're in the normal range. But the further research says that it's feeding cancer. So rather than get negative on these things, I get positive on them, and I go, what do I need to do? Well, one of the top foods that has high iron levels is salmon and kokanee salmon. And guess what I fish for all summer? And guess what I eat all winter, every day? So I go, okay, I'm now going to start eating less salmon. Okay, that's easy to do, and I can be positive about that. And back to Richard, and today I decide. Every day I make decisions about my health. So the biggest thing we can do is screen for this disease, and then the broader picture of what we can do for our health. Let's be fit. And I'd love to think that in this last 2 years of what we've all been through, the idea of being physically fit and healthy is on everybody's mind. And I ate too much of the good foods I learned. I ate too much spinach. Love spinach. How can spinach be bad for you? Well, too much of it may not be so good for us. It can feed certain things. So that's what I learned by going through a very careful diet analysis. But again, it's the screening. For men, it's get a blood test. And you could get the blood test yourself. I don't want to, this isn't intended as a plug, but there's a wonderful little business online called requesttest.com. And you can order all the blood tests you want through that without having to see a doctor and go through that whole process. Just go get your blood tested and see what your PSA level is, and know that 3 out of 4 men with an elevated PSA don't have cancer. So that's really good news. But we want to find the 1 in 4 that does and get after it quickly.
Yes. You mentioned being fit, Kristi. Is that part of your positive vibes and your positive attitude? Murray kept mentioning being positive, but you're fit as well.
Fitness is very important to me. My husband and I met at a CrossFit gym and we got engaged there after a workout. So a healthy lifestyle is also something that's super important to me. And again, I like to teach my kids to make good choices with food and eat stuff that's going to make you feel good and work out and exercise.
Yes. What made you decide to turn Positive Vibes into a business?
That's a very good question. Kind of similar to Murray, I give a lot of my books out and it's not, the most profitable business, but I want people to try and be happy, especially after kind of has started after COVID. And, there's so much negative that was happening and everyone's scared and terrified. And, all you see is negative stuff on social media. And so I give a lot of my journals out. I want people to have happy thoughts and just try and create a better world, which is kind of cheesy, but I want people to be more positive. And if I can provide an outlet for that by, selling some journals, then I'm happy to do it.
Richard, we gonna get you a journal?
I'll get me a journal. I got a question for that young lady. I've interviewed over 360 high achievers, and one of the things that they always talk about is their morning and evening ritual. And not one person that I've talked to that's really been successful watches the news in the morning or before they go to bed. So what are some of the things that you recommend for morning and evening rituals?
Morning rituals for me are difficult because I have two young little kiddos. But evening rituals, I think just sitting down and going through your day and thinking about the positive, like I kind of have honed in on. For me, it's a nighttime thing to kind of sit down, assess, see what good has gone in your day, and also see how you can improve things.
I like that.
I need something here to Richard's question.
Yes.
So, sorry, I had to switch computer here. My phone was dying. I recently ran into a book by Robin Sharma. It's called 5 a.m. Club, and that changed my life big time. I tried his recommendation in the morning ritual: get up at 5 a.m., 15-20 minutes, little workout, getting your body warmed up, about 20 minutes meditation, and then 20 minutes reflection, writing your thoughts, anything. That there is no limit there. And then starting your day, maybe another hour, planning your day before it is 7 o'clock. You are way ahead of the game. And I have done that about like 2 months before my second son was born. I can't do it in the past 6-7 months because of him, but I am dying to go back to it. It changed my business, my life in incredible ways. I felt like I was getting a head start on everything. I was much more creative. I was just getting this creative ideas from nowhere, literally doing that morning, like 1 hour ritual. And it was insane. And going to the second point, the news is one of the recommendations I found during that morning ritual readings. They say, like, you don't need news. If there's anything big enough that concerns you, you will hear it. Somebody will tell it to you. And at that point, I decided to stop watching or listening anything in news. And that was April 5th. Since that day, I haven't looked any form of news. And I couldn't tell you how relieved I am about it. Maybe I am very far away from the popular culture and, can't get into some conversations. But it's a lot easier for me to focus and organize my thoughts and meditate because I don't have all this information that I don't even need in the first place.
I agree.
Dave, you watch the news? Put Dave on the spot.
Well, not a lot because it does. It tends to depress me. There's not a lot of good on the news, so I can't say that I never watch it, but it is way down low on my priority list.
Wonderful. Do you have a morning ritual or evening ritual?
Well, I like to start my day by reading the Bible. I feel like I get a lot out of that, and it really sets my mind in the right place, and where my focus should be for the day.
I think that is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now we are going to stop for a moment because I just want to take a look at Tanner's. I want to order something from Tanner. I had to figure out where I needed to go if I wanted to place that order to get me some real leather. Real leather is here. What other kind of leather items do you have?
We have portfolios that you can put your legal pads in. That's one of the best-selling items for photography enthusiasts. We have camera straps. We have leather belts. We have tote bags for ladies, generally daily use. We have passport covers and travel wallets and some other classical wallets for now, but there's a lot more stuff in the making and some new brands being added as of January. Some higher end leather bags. We're going to try to compete with Louis Vuitton with much more purposeful luxury.
Wow, I have to check it out because I love to go shopping. That's my distraction. We are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching the show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives, and let them know what you want them to take away from your appearance here today. And we're going to start with you, Richard.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for everybody that's listening. This is not everybody, but there's one person out there that's struggling today with their mental health. And this is for you. Reach out and get help. There's always people out there like myself and other people that are there for you. And remember, today you decide if you want to live a good life or if you just want to live a regular life. So please make that decision today. Make that decision to make today your best day ever.
I love it. Positive words, positive words. Kristi, what do you have for the people?
I just want to challenge everyone, whether you want to journal or not, but sit down every day, think of one positive thing, keep it simple, keep it happy. Wanted to do a little giveaway. If you go follow us on Instagram at positive.vibes.journal and tag 2 people. We'll give away 5 journals on Friday. And then if you want to check them out, the website is positivevibesjournal.com. And try and create some happy thoughts.
You have to have those positive vibes. Isn't that right, Murray? Murray, what would you like the people to take away?
Well, following Richard and Kristi, I would like for men to decide today to get a PSA blood test. And that can be done online, so they don't even have to go to the doctor. They can find a lab in their zip code and be positive about it. Be positive about checking your health so that you can avoid a late diagnosis of this disease.
Yes, we work that in there. Have to have positive vibes and have positive vibes when you check. Tanner, what do you have for the people?
Well, thanks for having the opportunity here. It was great listening people's passions, and I will invite everybody to listen to their senses when they're using or shopping for leather goods, no matter where they are buying this from. This is my passion. Just become leather savvy and make the best use of this natural material to you. You don't need to know anything. You just need to listen to your senses. You touch, you listen to your fingers, you smell, you look at it, you look for inconsistencies. Anything that is too uniform to a standard is covered up. It's man-made, it's mass manufactured. The real leather is usually coming from small craftsmen, small brands, and we support that. I ask you to support that because that's where you're going to get the best leather applications. And go to our YouTube channel. It's under Tanner's Club. If you go to YouTube and search for Tanner's Club. Subscribe to our channel. We're going to do a giveaway. Subscribe to our channel and make a comment under one of our videos with this show's reference. We will give away a leather portfolio at the end of this week as well.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go make my comments so I can get that leather portfolio. But before we speak to Dave, did we get the results back yet about Tanner Leatherstein?
I'm
Well,
curious.
I will say though, you do have to. Criminal records are found by searching by name. A lot of people think it's by Social Security. So if there is an AKA, an alias, or an also known as out there, you do have to discover that and search that way. So I don't know. We'll have to find out what Tanner's real name is someday and do a search.
Tanner's fine. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he seems definitely that way. So yeah, I guess I would just like to say to people that you need to educate yourself when it comes to background screening. If you're an employer and you're hiring people and you want to keep your business safe, your employees safe, your customers safe, you want to know who you're hiring. You want to know everything you can about them. And one way to educate yourself would be to go to our YouTube channel, search for Safer Places Inc. On YouTube. We have a channel where we do video podcasts about once a month, and we post them on the YouTube channel. And they're really short. They're only 30 minutes. And so if there's a particular aspect of background screening that you want to explore or learn more about, you can choose that particular video. We've been doing it now just under a year, so I think we've got 8 or 9 of them up there, and we're adding more all the time. Of course, you can go to our website, which is saferplacesinc.com, and you can contact us. We'd love to spend time with you don't even have to be a client. We'll spend time with you, answer your questions about background screening, and if you do become a client, great. But if not, we feel like we've done something good if we've just given you an education about it and kind of pointed you in the right direction.
Absolutely. You have allowed for those positive vibes. Now, I want to thank you all for being guests on today's episode of the Roundtable Talk Show. And I especially want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch this show live, as well as everyone who is watching it in the archives. We definitely appreciate your support. But I ask that you don't just watch the show, but you share the show as well. And when you're sharing the show, please go ahead and check out our guests, visit their websites, follow them on social media, reach out to them, send them a message. And when you do, please let them know Sharifah Hardie says hi. Until tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.